Welcome to the podcast of School Beyond Limitations. In this podcast, you will learn how to guide your child through their school life with the intention to help them find their unique essence that will allow your daughter, your son to live a fulfilled and meaningful life. Well, today, my wonderful colleague Suttie, who is also a cultural strategist and head of examination at School Beyond Limitations. And I would like to talk a little bit with one another about School Beyond Limitations. But before we do that, Derek, I would like you to maybe tell us, why did you join School Beyond Limitations in the first place? Because you've been working internationally. You've been head of school in many, many countries. And then there comes School Beyond Limitations, a small context. So what inspired you about School Beyond Limitations?
Well, when you first contacted me, just circumstances, and when we first spoke, circumstances just couldn't allow me to join at that point. But I knew already then that for me, I didn't really have to think about it much at all. For me, it was completely aligned with everything I believed in, everything I had dreamed education could be, and everything I tried to make education in all of my positions in my career. So when we spoke more in depth and more in detail, and I understood completely what you had designed and what you had started with Katerina, it wasn't a hard decision to make at all, because it was completely aligned to everything I felt was valuable and meaningful in education.
And what is meaningful according to you in education?
Well, the first and foremost is that at SBL, the students are really at the center of everything that we do. And I say this many times, and I'm sure you're probably quite tired of hearing me say this, Martina, but there are many schools who profess to put the students at the center of what they do, but they don't really do that. But at School Beyond Limitations, the students really are at the very, very center of everything we do. And it's a genuine, authentic approach. It's not lip service towards a philosophy. It's a lived philosophy. It's a working philosophy, and it's organic. It's constantly growing, constantly adapting, constantly transforming, constantly changing, but with the students always at the very center of that. So it adapts to our student population. And to me, that's really what educating is all about, is that we educate young people who don't teach subjects.
In practical terms, being in the center, and at the center of what we are doing, a student, there are many things that we could actually list here, right? So let's maybe just talk about, our relationship that we cultivate with our students. What would you say is the very first thing in allowing a student to understand you are the center of everything we do, but still there are other students as well who are the center, so that they don't fall into the trap of thinking that they are more important over others. So how do you think are we approaching that so that each and everyone appreciates?
Yeah, well, it's the fact that students are listened to, the fact that there is authenticity in those conversations, and that it is responsibly discussed with the student. So there are no wild promises or wild possibilities, but the reality of the situation is explained to each and every student. If a situation arises, like you've described, where there's one student who's asking for one particular thing, but that puts other students not in harm's way, but at risk, or compromises other students, it's explained to all the students, and everybody is included in that. So even if it is just one student that has an issue or concern, it's dealt with individually, but then in a bigger picture, it's explained to each and every student in a really authentic, genuine way. That's not condescending or rules orientated, but in a responsible fashion that makes it a reality and makes it understandable for students. So I think that for me is one of the most important parts about SBL, is the authenticity of the relationships that we have. And I think that's really at the core of the culture of the school, is that authenticity of relationships amongst us, amongst the students, between the students, and how we cultivate that and continue to cultivate it. But I must make it quite clear that there's no kind of intentional cultivation, that is just an authentic cultivation of that.
So you just talked about the culture, and you are basically the driving force alongside everyone, you know, at School Beyond Limitations. And maybe that's something we may also want to share with the outer world, that there is no hierarchy at School Beyond Limitations, and there we see in each and every one the potential and the possibility to actually spread this kind of spirit that you talked about. So, as a culture strategist and cultural strategist of School Beyond Limitations, what do you think are the key pillars to establish this culture within each member of the community, and maybe even beyond, because it's the students, of course, as you say, and they need to be in the center. But is it possible if we don't integrate also everyone who is working within, and their parents and maybe their friends even, you know? So what would you say, as the cultural strategist of School Beyond Limitations, are the key pillars for you?
Well, there are, I like to think of it, if I may, as not just key pillars, but as a foundation. And the two foundations for me are authenticity and relationships. And then there are things that come out, which I would consider to be the pillars of those foundations. Things like collaboration, trust, responsibility, inclusivity. All staff ideas are thought through, considered, valued, respected. And although not all of them can be implemented, all of them are thought through and decided together as a group. And so it's that there's constant learning taking place, not just sharing and not just statements about approaches, strategies, philosophies, that it's the sharing of a staff member's learning that makes all the difference. And we all consider ourselves to be in that position, that we are humble enough to accept that no matter what our backgrounds and no matter what our experiences, whether it's in headship or inspection or education or whatever the case may be, is that there is still space and always will be space to learn and grow and change and transform what we have.
Thank you so much, Derek. And I think what we have been doing right now is just giving a little bit of a glimpse of what, you know, School Beyond Limitations is based on, and how we kind of, you know, reflect that and resonate with that. And we try, and not only try, we do work on a daily basis in that direction. So Derek and I will come, not live, but will, you know, give some further inputs in the coming weeks and coming month again. And thank you, Derek, for being with us. And this is a snapshot within the heart of School Beyond Limitations. And if you feel that School Beyond Limitations would be the right place for your child also, then please reach out to us. We offer primary school, offer secondary school, we offer bridging year, and we soon are offering also university. Thank you, Derek, for joining. Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure. Thank you very much, Martina.
Welcome. At School Beyond Limitations, we support our students find their unique essence. Feel free to share the content of this podcast with other parents. We are here to show that your children can, indeed, bring their unique essence into life. So, reach out to us if you think that this is what you'd like your daughter, your son to experience, or apply through our website. Also, leave your comments, your questions, or your review about the podcast. Share it with others. And, as you know, sharing is caring.